Denis Villeneuve, Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese, and last but not least, David Fincher. The directors, the filmmakers that we set a clock on the calendar, put it on a date, we will be there to watch their movie. These are the few filmmakers today that we can truly say that about. And now we have the latest iteration from said David Fincher. Is it truly another in the long line of his masterpieces? Or is it a Netflix garbage movie that you should skip? This is Last Page. Once again, issue 30.
0.
Crazy. Last Page, issue number 30. Thank you for joining us today. We have a great panel to discuss the latest from Mr. David. Joining us today, across the seas of the internet, Jason Cedars, RemingtonCKing, and special guest, the Barata returns triumphantly, Zach Glenn, to talk about this movie. This is a movie that I have circled for a minute because the aforementioned filmmakers that I talked about, those are people that typically are talked about constantly about their latest movies. And I feel like David Fincher is not quite put in that. He's not constantly in the public eye as much as those other filmmakers, despite the fact that if you look at the movies that this man has made, I mean, Fight Club, Seven, The Social Network, Gone Girl. This guy has an incredible filmography, and it's not like, no disrespect to Steven Spielberg, but you don't really care about a Steven Spielberg movie that comes out, West Side Story remake and Ready Player One. Like, you just don't care. He doesn't have the same rub. The guy's like 1,000 years old, so it makes sense. However, this guy is still killing it. Did the Mindhunter series on Netflix, which was incredible. So I was very excited, especially because it has Michael Fassbender, one of my favorite actors, a movie that, according to the International Movie Database, the plot summary is, after a fateful near miss, an assassin battles his employers and himself on an international manhunt he insists isn't personal. This is a movie that was built up as a assassin that slowly gains a conscience, and I don't feel like that was totally accurate, but we can get into it and discuss this movie as it goes. From just watching the trailer, it just seems like Michael Fassbender hunts people down. And so I'm very excited because I feel like we're going to get a wide range of opinions on this movie. Let's start with Barata Zach. You are a big Fincher fan. Please talk to me and tell me what your thoughts, initial thoughts, spoiler free, of course, for now, and then we'll get into spoilers later, was of The Killer.
I thought it was really great. I really liked it. I like David Fincher movies a lot. I don't like all of them, some of them more than others, but I think you hit the nail on the head of like directors who have a filmography. Denis Villeneuve, David Fincher, I think you said Quentin Tarantino. I would probably put the Coens in there too, although like maybe not as much for a theatrical run, but like there's like a few directors that I think film lovers or whatever, just movie fans get excited about when they have a movie coming out. And this was definitely one of them. And I really liked it. I thought it was, I'm a huge Michael Fassbender fan, huge fan of his. So to see them working together was really cool. And all the usual players, I know you'll talk about that later, but I really enjoyed it. I don't know if you want a deeper answer than that, but I was especially after Mank too, his 2020 film, I think. I thought Mank was good. It wasn't my favorite thing he's ever done though. So this was like a really nice, return to form in a way, even with the opening credits. And I know we'll talk about that, but I definitely got Fight Club 7 vibes from the opening credits. So big fan, really liked it.
Embarrassingly enough, I just realized that I was saying Fincher. Like William Fincher.
Yes, you were.
David Fincher. Fincher. Damn it. Anyway, Rembo, your thoughts on this movie that I'm sure you love.
God, Netflix can't make good movies, dude. It's just the way it is. They cannot make good movies to save their life. I don't know what it is. They can make hit shows that are of actual top tier quality that you can put alongside, at least for a couple of seasons. But they just can't do movies, and I don't know what it is. I think it's because they're like partially writing. Well, I mean, if you look at the two writers that are attached to this movie that aren't Andrew, what's the guy's name?
Andrew Kevin Walker wrote the screenplay, but then the other two writers are from the graphic novel. They get a story by credit.
They get story by credit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they're not actually writing writing this show?
No, Andrew Kevin Walker did the screenplay.
Oh, so I can blame him 100%. Okay, Andrew Kevin Walker apparently has just gone out. Like, I mean, that dude actually doesn't really have that long of a list of good movies attached to him. It's 7, and that's it.
So he's super interesting. So he had no history in writing a screenplay, and 7 was his only published screenplay for a really long time.
Yes.
He was
a one-hit wonder of a writer. I'm going to call him a one-hit wonder of a writer because I think this movie is actually really boring. And I don't know if you guys have seen The Gray Man, but this is the same motherfucking movie.
Yeah.
It's the same movie, dude. Netflix doesn't know how to like actually have a 3-act movie. It's just text, foreign country, text, and then about 20-30 minutes later, text, another foreign country, another 30 minutes later, text. Like, it's literally just beat for beat the exact same Gray Man movie with super, like, and then when you get the action, it's actually over the top. The brute scene is just like, it goes on and on. It's like a WWE match. There's parts of it that are okay. The opening monologue bored me because I was like, what he's saying is kind of interesting. And then it just feels like 20 minutes into it, I'm like, what is he talking about? I don't even know what he's talking about anymore. Like, it seems like he's just rambling. I was kept on waiting for it to get better, and it never did. And then, yeah, those are my initial thoughts. I'll collect them coherently later, but that's what I initially feel.
Remy, it's so interesting to me hearing like your reviews and like how I think the exact opposite sometimes. And I picture us both sitting on a couch sometime watching some movie and me being like, yes, and you'd be like, God damn it, about something, the exact same scenes, because it's so funny where, I mean, I guess I can see the boring side of it. It was a 2-hour movie, but everything slow or boring, it made up for like with this fucking style that was just so cool throughout the movie. Like, that's what I just kept saying about this movie constantly. Oh, that was cool. Oh, that's cool. Oh, I think that's cool. He looks cool. Like Michael Fassbender's cool. Yep, the stuff he does and has and everything, that's cool. The music that he's listening to the entire time. Shout out to the Smiths. Yeah, that was so cool. And then the places that he went to, all of that was so cool. And then how everything just kind of ended up in the movie, I thought was just so cool. And so it's just funny hearing kind of someone else getting an entirely different take on something like this. But
well, before Mav takes it back, I do just want to say I agree with you for the most part, Remy, about Netflix studio films. I know that this came to Netflix like as a release, but I would say that this has a distinctly different feel from something like The Gray Man, which I do agree there are like story beats that are similar, but this was filmed first, which doesn't matter. I mean, it's a pretty generalized story. But I don't think this had a very Netflix studio feel, even though if what you're getting at is like what they publish is like their like slated movies like The Gray Man, or even they just had a movie
Adam
with
Sandler
like,
stuff.
Yeah, but they just had a movie come out with like I love her so much, from Edge of Tomorrow and Mary Poppins.
Emily Blunt.
Like, that feels like a Netflix studio film, whereas I would say this didn't feel like it had the same problems. But Mav, I didn't mean to hijack there. I'm sorry.
Quite all right. It's interesting, Jason, that you say the movie's cool, because this movie to me is, I did not see The Gray Man, so I can't comment on that. But this movie as an assassin movie is not as good or as well done as a host of other assassin movies. It's certainly not a cool James Bond movie. I mean, that is the hook of James Bond, assassin, espionage, secret agent, is that it's cool. Everything he does is cool. He acts cool. The gadgets are cool. That is cool. To me, then you have like Wanted, which is a highly stylized, fun assassin movie that's way over the top. Zach's stupid face just made a stupid face that I don't appreciate. That's like a fun movie. And then The Accountant, to me, is a much better, the characters you care about. There's emotional depth that this movie doesn't have. There's no caring about anyone in this movie. And I feel like I'm going to end up shitting on this movie a lot. It's not a bad movie. It's okay. I love Michael Fassbender, but like Remy said, the opening begins, first of all, and Zach mentioned, the opening credits, which was Smokin' Aces-esque. Like, it did feel like a 2000s movie opening credits, which put me in the idea like, oh, this is going to be like a fun kind of romp of a throwback movie. But no, then the next 15 minutes of this movie is watching Michael Fassbender in a mental monologue, just talking about his mental process of killing people.
I loved that. That was
It was such a great,
awesome.
it was such a great establishment of his character. But yeah, that was
so boring.
But that's his
was supposed to
point,
be.
is he
Yeah.
said this job isn't for people who get bored easily. So he's like prepping you, and you're getting to know his like mental state.
Bro,
And-
he's prepping me for a boring movie? That makes it good?
It's
No, he's
really
prepping you for
showing what
something
that profession.
slow-paced.
Yeah, I mean, what that profession is. I mean, it is a lot of waiting. It is a lot of just sitting there. You know, it's not trying to glorify this job that he's doing or try to make it more hyped. And I thought he did such a good job of the sociopath kind of-ness of it, but then to show that he was human in the mistakes that he made, like little things where it wasn't cool all the time. Like the first one comes to mind when he's unlocking his bike and the lock doesn't work on his bike and he's trying to get away. That moment of panic, that he does it, and then he goes about doing all this cool stuff. But it just shows you that everything doesn't always work like James Bond every time, where it's going to just fall into place perfectly. So it was the perfect take on the assassin or killer in my mind that has just been so done too many times.
Oh, so well said. I agree, dude.
Completely disagree.
Someone agrees with me on the show.
The problem is that you have a character that we don't at all connect to at any point.
I connected to him immediately.
Me too.
There is the problem is that at first we're introduced to him as a cold killer who has his own mental thoughts of what's happening. He messes up an assassination. He shoots the wrong person. And that sends him kind of scrambling a little bit. And then we get a John Wick-esque storyline shoehorned in that is done so much worse than John Wick, where his girlfriend gets beat up because he messed up. And in his world, if you mess up an assassination, they kill you, which, man, that is such a great thing to have, where you're like, assassin, if you mess up, we're gonna kill you. You're definitely not gonna come and hunt us down. We'll just kill you first. But first,
no, it was an extra charge. Remember, it was an extra charge to get him killed. Remember, the guy paid it at the very end, so it's not all the time that
they go to beat up his girlfriend, and then it starts the process of he goes down on this mission. But we never met the girlfriend before. It's not like John Wick, where at the very beginning, where it's like, oh, his wife. Like, oh, it's sad she's dead, and then he loses his dog, and now it's like, I'm going to fucking kill everyone, and you're like, oh shit, like it's on. You never get that sense. But I'm rambling. Zach, by all means, tell me I'm wrong.
Oh, I don't think you're wrong. I mean, I think it's just what Jason was saying of like, it's interesting hearing what you may have liked about a movie through somebody else's eyes if they didn't like it, because it's like, I think that it was definitely cinematic. It's definitely like building to one event that's at like the sort of midpoint, which is that fight. Unlike John Wick, which is just like action peppered throughout and action set pieces. And I say it's cinematic because I'm not going to sit here and be like, this is like a purely realistic take on like a John Wick story. But I do think that I really enjoyed the opening monologue a lot. And like, I have more thoughts on that later, but like, I think that it was cool what Jason was saying. Like, remember how he has that funny incidental line where he says, like, I always dress up like a German tourist because nobody wants to talk. Like, that to me, I thought was really funny and really clever because, and he also says, there's no way to avoid being seen in the 21st century. And I was just like, that acknowledgement enough felt like a depth of realism that you just don't get in like a lot of these highly stylized films, where there'll be like some MacGuffin to just like help solve everything. Whereas this one, he's like, you're never going to avoid that. And I don't know. I just really liked it. And I did feel connected to him. I felt like he's intentionally a little bit distanced from us on purpose. But I would say I even connected more to the like love story and the vengeance plot in this than I did with John Wick. Like John Wick's, I don't even remember what John Wick's wife looks like.
And you don't need to.
It's
You
Keanu
don't.
Reeves. What do you mean he doesn't look? What, you don't know what he looks like?
I don't.
No,
I don't
no,
need to
the
know the
wife in
woman
John Wick
before
looks
that.
like.
As long-
Wife.
If a woman got beat, then you're going to get killed. It doesn't matter who the woman is. We don't need this
Right.
whole story of making
I
it.
actually think it does
strung
matter if the woman is given a proper backstory and not just a piece of meat, Jason. That's just me.
I felt like their connection is more developed in that one scene of him visiting her in the hospital and her brother getting upset than anything in John Wick.
That's all I needed. Yeah, that was enough.
Oh,
Did we
man,
watch the
I
same
love-
movie?
What is John Wick's
No
wife's name and who
way.
plays her?
What was that?
What is John Wick's wife's name and who plays her? Why is that love
I
story
don't
any
know.
more
I haven't
developed
seen
than
John Wick in 8 years, but I do remember. No, but I do remember you're living through John Wick, where you do connect to him. The fact he's watching these videos of his dead wife, and then all he has left is his dog. You remember that, like, clearly.
Right.
What is the name of the girlfriend of the killer? Don't look at IMDb right now.
I'm not. Ivana.
She probably doesn't have a name. It's just the girlfriend in the.
No, she
I was
has a
gonna
name.
say, I bet she's just the girlfriend because this AI written story was
Right.
literally just killer, taxi driver, man at post.
Lawyer.
One step away from Tenet, where it's the protagonist.
Oh God.
Her name is Magdala.
Oh, you were
Oh,
wrong, Ivanka Trump.
I just made something up. I don't know. I felt like they're similar. I just really liked the slow down. I love Michael Fassbender. There's this really cool panel actually on YouTube that you can watch of Ryan Johnson of all people, who I'm not like the biggest fan of, but he showed the movie at his movie house and then had a live Q&A with David Fincher and Michael Fassbender after. And the question he was the most excited about was like, how did you Fassbender, like, how much of the inner monologue is on your mind when you're acting out the scenes, because you know, like, just from how much time you have to take and like time per take and all that, like, and he's just said you just rehearse it so much until it's just a part of, like, because you can't think about thinking, that'll just turn in for a really self-conscious performance. But you just rehearse and rehearse and rehearse and rehearse, and we would do so many different ways of rehearsing. And so then I don't even remember like what take it was, like at what point it was where I would do it silently. And I just thought that was so cool to just like learn about, because you just feel like whether what he's saying is interesting or not, I feel like it's like you kind of find your rhythm with it, where you're just like, oh, I'm going to be listening to the person's thought, and the actions have to match that to a degree. How successful it was, it doesn't sound like it was the same for all of us, but I don't know. I feel like I've been talking for a long time, but I really like that element about it.
Rem? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Rembo.
I do not want to discount Michael Fassbender in all his glory, because I think I think we all love Michael Fassbender here. I think most people do. He is great at what he does. I just think he's getting given a very limited framework to work with in this movie. His character has no depth. Who the hell would date this man? He's not interesting, or like, or not, rather, he's not interesting. He has no sort of appeal on a relational level to this like young, hot Dominican girl. I guess she's hot. I don't know. I assume she is, because he's an assassin and he has money, and her face is fucked up, so you don't really see her face. But the man does not emote at all ever. So I'm not really sure how attractive that is to a girl. So their entire relationship is a diatribe between him and her brother.
But there's a lot of quiet men though that like we maybe don't see the appeal of it first. That like,
Yeah, except this
not
one is
everyone-
filthy rich. So that's all I have to go on is like, are they just together because he's rich and she's hot?
I think you
I don't
guys
know,
have
it's a
lost
pretty
the
negative
focus
assumption
of this
to make.
movie. I think this is
He's a cold-blooded, I don't feel anything sociopath murderer. That there's no depth to him that makes me care about his relationship.
And I think that's
Like-
the point, though. I mean, that's exactly what the movie was trying to show. Is it's not like this very romantic or energetic. I mean, it did a perfect job of because an awkward Like what person? What were we talking about? Like a scientist or something like
Oh,
how?
this is before we were recording.
Oh yeah, we're casting like for the Reed Richards scientist thing, where it's like it needs to be someone who is very like scientific but can't be too charismatic, so it's like when you're trying to be a sociopath like assassin who is, I mean, look at the lockers, all the storage units that he has and how organized he is and how everything is so like that. Like that's not normal. And for you to smile at people and to have a lot of emotions and be able to convey those to other people, that's not something this type of person is to have. So he did the perfect job of what a person like this would be, and then how he would function and being inside of his head. And this is like the music aspect that he can be jamming out to music while he's trying to shoot someone while he's lowering his heartbeat, like all of those little things were in his head. Like this is what this movie was about. It's not developing a relationship with a girl or a dog,
but that's his entire motivation to going on this, like, let me track everything down. Cause he has so much money. They even say so. He has so much money. He could have just disappeared. He could have just been like, oh, they attacked me. But no, it becomes personal. That's the whole basis of this, is that it becomes personal, and he has to go and defend the honor of his girlfriend that I'm sure they have a great relationship, because he seems like such a nice guy.
No, I don't think it was, because with Tilda Swinton's conversation at the very end with him at the table, like that was
God, just kill me now if I ever have to hear about that fucking conversation again. Holy shit. That is the most boring that might be the most boring part of this movie, is her telling that story about the guy who's willingly going back to get raped by a fucking bear. What? Like, I was like, I know that when the AI was writing this story, that they were like, oh, this is such a great story, she's going to tell him, it's such a great, and just like, no, this is stupid. That line is stupid.
That was all about as a metaphor for his motivation,
But yeah, Remy, you're really doing yourself a disservice right now. I got to tell you.
No,
it's to say that this movie feels like it was AI written when this person's credit is one of the most influential movies ever written in Seven. And this movie has
one-hit wonders. Do not talk to me about a one-hit wonder as a legit one movie. You nailed one movie, and you're going to tell me that guy's the most influential writer? Come on.
No.
One movie.
Seven is one of the most influential movies, and therefore. And the writer, I mean, he's done a bunch of scripts. Writers will write stuff that don't get picked up. I just don't think this feels at all AI written. I think that this is like, it's a character study. I feel like if it's like he's an assassin, and how often do we use the term like functioning sociopath for like CEOs of like major tech companies or whatever? It's like we don't discount their ability to love just because somebody like Mark Zuckerberg like doesn't emote at all and is like weird and blank behind the eyes. And I feel like Fincher really likes those I mean, he directed The Social Network. He really likes these sort of vacant.
That's funny. I was gonna say a good example.
Yeah, he likes these like more vacant protagonists that like you're not quite sure what their motivations are, but like what their maybe ability to love, or whatever is. And I feel like this, without like jumping too much into like whatever, I think it's like more metaphorical aspects are like the fact that he's in an abandoned WeWork building, and his like yoga routine feels very much like meditation or something like somebody like a practicing Muslim would do, or something like rolling out his mat, like needs to do like his afternoon prayer. I was kind of wondering, I'm like, oh, I wonder if it's like the assassin and like he's always trying to blend in and like won't make eye contact, if it's kind of a commentary on somebody that's like at a tech level that we would think of as like, you know what I'm saying? Like just in his awkwardness, but his ability to be like ruthless. Anyways, that was kind of it.
Very good. Yeah, go ahead.
I wrote down just a ton of questions in the beginning of the movie, because it's just constant questions like, why is he here? What is he doing? All this sort of stuff. So I love how we slowly like breadcrumbed, what his life is, his motivation, all that sort of stuff throughout the movie until almost like the very end. It's like you not knowing really this whole, not even knowing the character's name, and how many names did they throw out at him. I think that was another great thing where we don't ever get introduced to the character, but we're constantly introduced to all of his identity.
Just like Fight Club.
Yeah. Because every time he changes a new identity, they actually say that, thank you, Mr. What's his face? And he has to just kind of do that. Yep, that's who I am right now. I thought that was so cool that he was just all these different people, but he was always that German tourist, though, in my mind. But it was like how quickly he could look like someone else, like a little quick shave, into the next room. He has all the next clothes ready to go, and he's out the door. It's like I loved that part of this movie, and I think it's homage to Dexter. Like I got so much Dexter vibes, like kind of from it, where it was that weird kind of killer thing and how he operates in the real world and not being able to kind of like fully.
The shots of him like spraying the gun felt very Dexter, like something. And
so
Michael C.
Dexter-like,
Hall and him do share a little bit of a facial characteristic.
Yeah,
not Michael. Yeah, is it Michael C. Hall?
Yeah, Michael C. Hall.
And then just I love. Oh shoot, the old cop movies, the Law and Order, like Law and Order and those type of stuff, where we was cops just sitting in cars and watching things, you know, and what goes on while you're just munching or watching something, or all the dedication that goes to it. It's like it combined a lot of the themes I like in a lot of movies and TV shows. So this, I did not think that this conversation was going to go like this. I thought it was going to be us talking about how much we love Fassbender in this one.
I am surprised how much you just didn't like it, Remy.
And then even the fight scene, Remy, I thought the fight scene was so intense, like so fucking intense.
Let's wait on the fight scene, because the fight scene is definitely a pinnacle point in this movie that I do want to talk about, but that's in a minute. It is
reel me back.
Jason, you said mentioned there's the different identities. I just have questions for the panel. And again, I did not read. Has anyone here read the graphic novel this is based upon?
I just bought it. It hasn't arrived yet. I'm excited. We'll see.
I saw some like video that had flashes of it. Yeah, very old French kind of thing. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, you know, what's in the movie that's not in the graphic novel, or if it's like in the graphic novel, so it's in the movie. So I don't know, but I do know that he listens just to the Smiths. That's the only band he listens to. And he gives everyone, every name he has is a TV character from the 70s.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't pick that up.
Why is that?
I noticed they did that still in the movie, right? Like the first names of the characters. It wasn't like Archie Bunker necessarily.
No,
but
it was Archie Bunker. It was
there was one of them.
Felix Unger from The Odd Couple. Oscar
That
from The
is
Odd Couple.
That's hilarious.
George Jefferson. It's just I was just like, okay, like you're doing that, but you're doing it so often. I'm like, I just want to know, like, what's the connection? Like, you're just doing it because when you were a kid, to me, it was like something that's, he's using TV characters from the 70s. And because it happens so much, I wanted a reason why.
That's definitely something that we as the audience will create that story from just those little things right there. Because we'll sit there and be like, okay, he must have had some obsession with 70s TV because his parents didn't raise him and then he got raised by the TV.
That's what I think. I think, yeah, like in his
that's a good explanation, Jason. Yeah. One of your only good explanations for bullshit writing.
Hey, you got to help the story along a little bit. Man.
That's a very good point. I do agree. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I think maybe my last point got a little bit sidetracked as to two different ways. I agree. I think Michael Fassbender does a really good job of portraying the character that he's supposed to. The super, and again, it's a little bit boring because we've seen this in other films, and I don't think it's done really differently than any other assassin type person. Like, I mean, he literally pulls a safe out of the ground. John Wick. That is a John Wick move, is to go use, like, you have your safe on your property buried. Let me go pull out my 17 different identities and my passports. And instead of gold coins, I have cash. But like, I think he does a great job of portraying what a sociopathic person would be like, who is super rigid with like their tedious in their approach to things.
Yeah.
I think he does a great job with that. I just don't care about his character at all. And I don't care about his motivation to get revenge on some guy who assaulted his girlfriend, who I had no idea existed until after it had happened. And then I had to have it explained to me.
You just sound like you hate movies. Like, why are you mad that you read a character?
I want a reason to care. And that I'm not given any reason to care about any person in this movie.
Because it's not the focus isn't about the girl. I don't think. I think it's more about like almost the
girl reflects.
No, but it's almost like a disrespect to himself. Like, you went to my house and beat up my girl. Right. You know, things. It's like she is just a person playing that emotion almost or something. That's why they breeze over her so quickly, because it's not about her, not about the relationship. It's like what it did to him.
At that point, it should just be if she's not important, write the movie like this. Write it so that they go to his house and assault him in the middle of the night, and they beat him, and he just barely escapes with his life. But remember, and then he's like, "Fuck you guys, I'm going to come back and kill you." If You weren't trying to just throw some sort of cheap play on my heartstrings because, they beat up his girlfriend and they did this terrible thing, because they make a point of mentioning how it's like really horrible what they do to her.
Mhm.
If she's not important, then remove that shit, because it seems like it's a cheap way to try and make me care.
But that was what's so cool about the movie too, is it wasn't supposed to happen to her. Remember, the guy with the socks on the plane scared him enough not to take that flight home. So he should have been there when they showed up. So I think that was a whole other twist of this, is he got freaked out about the guy with the socks. I'm talking about, was in the airport. Yeah, and then that was a deterrent. He didn't go there. His girl got beat up because he took that chance. And come to find out that guy had nothing to do with it too, which I thought he was going to show up at the very end of the movie or something.
That reminded me of The Sopranos a little bit. Like, how the end of the spoilers for The Sopranos.
Wait. Remy hasn't watched spoilers.
I haven't seen
Sopranos earlier on an earlier issue of last page. I won't let you do it again.
20 years old, you're able to spoil something.
Yeah.
I'll get there eventually.
No, I won't spoil it. But one of the things, so I won't. I promise I won't spoil it. But like, it does such a good job is showing like what living in that POV of somebody who's rich and powerful gangster, what it would feel like. And I feel like this movie does a really good job in the same way. Like you said, Jason, like that was a mistake he made essentially. And in that moment, I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, that person is like totally after him. It's super obvious, like whatever. But I feel like you'd have to be that paranoid, and it kind of showing what it would be like to live that way, where paranoia equals awareness. It would be maddening. And I also, going back to how you were saying, Remy, you didn't like connect with the driver of the story, like that he's avenging this girl that he doesn't have a great connection with. The moment, I agree, it's like really limited, but the moment where they're in the hospital and their dialogue is super limited, I think she's like doing most of the talking and he barely has like an incidental line. I feel like Fassbender is so good at, like, it really did seem to me that he was very heartbroken and like angry and all the emotions you would feel if you saw someone you loved like that, like in that state, but with such minimal dialogue. And I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm embellishing it. Maybe it wasn't that profound, but I thought that it was really like a minimalist approach, but really cool. That's all. Because he is awkward. He's awkward. There's no way around it.
Aspects of that have been done better. The paranoia, like Jason Bourne movies, do a great job of here's the completely paranoid killer who is frantic, but like it is very interesting to watch him navigate, always being on the run because he's so like terrified of his current situation, even though he's very capable of his abilities. And then, or you have like a movie that's
a lot, actually.
A sociopath movie, Nightcrawler, where you're watching this sociopath and it is fucking fascinating to watch him just completely live this lie and manipulate people. And you're watching, like, you can't take your eyes off him, but you can take your eyes off Michael Fassbender just because there's very little you're working with this character that's very muted. And it's just, to me, it wasn't all that like, oh my God, this guy's so interesting. It was just like, he's a killer.
He says it in the very beginning. He has a lot of great one-liners, especially his little mantra that he does to himself. But I think it's when he's setting up for the first assassination, he goes, I don't give a fuck. Like that's his life, is I don't give a fuck, and he is definitely not that way by the end of the movie. So I feel like that was like his little character arc, is he started to give some fucks.
Yeah.
Well, let's progress on. So he starts after his girlfriend gets beat up. He starts tracking down these people that are responsible for his girlfriend getting beat up. And this is where the movie did get interesting. And as much as I've shit on this movie, there are parts of this movie I do really like. And the first person he comes across is the taxi driver that drove the beat him up people to his house and that beat up his girlfriend. And he's interrogating him. And that was very interesting because at least, and maybe this is because the way the movie was pitched was that this guy slowly goes conscious. So I kept thinking like, oh, he's going to slowly like realize the error of his ways. So it was very interesting when he's interrogating this guy, and this guy ostensibly is telling him basically the truth of that he drove them there. He waited, he left, and you're like, okay, he's probably going to let him go. And no, blam, fucking shoots him right there. And I was
that
like,
surprised me.
Yeah, that was the first part of the movie I was like really into. So yeah, Zach, like, what was your kind of or actually Rembo, because maybe this would warm the cockles of your heart, to watch something that was out of left field. You're like, oh, I didn't know if he was going to get shot right there. What did you think?
Yeah, I do agree. I did appreciate that because of that actor was kind of bothering me anyway. I felt like it's one of those things, and I will say the positive thing here, but one thing about Netflix movies is you give these no-name actors like this small role, and they take it just a little too far. I felt like the taxi driver and a couple other people in this movie are just acting out a little bit more than they would in that scenario. Like I felt he was showing too much of his personality in a situation where I thought he should just be fucking actually terrified because this dude brought a gun on him. Maybe he's a taxi driver in the Dominican Republic and they just do that shit all the time. I don't know. I don't want to assume that of the DR. But so anyway, I did really appreciate that it is kind of that left field, like, oh no, okay, he is just gonna fucking kill this guy, and it kind of doesn't matter why. It just is that he's just like, maybe it's because he's gonna tie up all loose ends, possibly, probably, right? But also he's just kind of committed to the fact that he's just like, no emotion, don't feel bad for anybody, just kill. So I did like that. And I like that he sticks to that theme basically all the way throughout the movie with like all the other loose ends that he just like makes sure to take off. But I did like that part. That part was fun.
Jason, that like introduction to his. Were you surprised that he shot? Because the guy, it does seem like he's telling him the truth, and it was like, like he's gonna let him go. No, it does not let him go. Were you surprised?
Not at all. Like from the second when he takes off his sunglasses, I'm like, oh, you just showed him his face. You're not going to live this one. That's what I kept thinking the whole time. Anyone who sees Fassbender's face is going to die. Like that's like as soon as I like started going through the movie, it's like,
well, he took his hat off too, right? In the cab, or is it just the sunglasses?
I think it was just the sunglasses. He puts them down. He puts clips.
I agree that was a pretty big tell. Yeah. Keep going.
And I was just like, oh, yep, that's not going to look good for you, buddy. But I loved the locations of it. And so seeing the Dominican Republic, and that was, I think, the first one we go to because Louisiana is the next one. And we just came.
Are we sure it's the Dominican Republic or was that?
Yeah, no,
for sure. He was very confident in saying that. And I was like, oh, he's probably right.
I thought it was South America.
No, it's the Dominican Republic, and I specifically thought about it just because my good friend Gima.
All the baseballs that were like
I was literally about to make a baseball joke. I'm like, you didn't see the 120 mile per hour fastball?
No, it's just literally because my good friend Gima is all his family's from the Dominican Republic. He's Dominican, and so when they showed Dominican Republic, I was like, oh, Gima.
No, they were very good at labeling.
Gima knows everyone there.
No,
stupid. You're right. The locations. Have any of you guys played the video game Hitman?
No, actually.
Yeah, starring Timothy Olyphant.
There was the Timothy Olyphant movie. I never saw that movie. I know that one's much more stylized. But the video game is very much. If you want to play a video game version of this movie, Hitman is like it, where you're an assassin. They send you to a location. You dress a certain way. You have certain weapons, and you walk around and mingle amongst a bunch of civilians. And then you find your target and try to kill him without anyone knowing and disposing the body. This was very much similar to that. Just a random side note.
It reminded me of Hitman meets Splinter Cell a little bit.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have the same level of
memories. The Splinter Cell movie that will never, ever
party. No, we don't talk about the movie. We're talking about the game, Splinter Cell.
But the game, though, that's what I remember loving about the game was that it was so challenging and like so much of like not puzzle solving because it wasn't like a Resident Evil game or something, but it was like not intuitive, I would say, essentially, at least for me. And I feel like even though he doesn't have the same level of like gadgetry and outfit necessarily although he does look really cool, especially in the like opening montage.
Yeah, he's a little more Solid Snake, Metal Gear vibes.
Yeah, totally. But like, it didn't not have a video game vibe to it in certain ways, and I really appreciated that because Fincher's interest, I feel like you can really see. I mean, he's like, I know you want to talk about this later or now, Mav, but like he has such a prolific career as a director of like music videos, and I feel like more so in his early stuff, do you really see that aspect of his filmmaking prowess, like kind of not influencing, but like being present in the way things look a lot. But in this, though, I was thinking not of Hitman, but of Splinter Cell. So it's really interesting you bring that up, Matt, because it didn't feel close enough, but I feel like it is a few things sort of combined. So I don't know. I really like that about it.
Well, now that you've brought up the music video aspect, it is interesting because David Fincher, like his, having a background in music videos, it is interesting to watch that most of his movies are like they're not overly stylized. They're very like they feel grounded. The atmosphere is so rich, and it's just very interesting to compare a guy that started in music videos like him versus a guy started with music videos like Zack Snyder, where his movies just look like a 3-hour long music video, whereas David Fincher was able to like make that transition to make artful film.
You know who he reminds me of in that way, Mav, is Ridley Scott. So Ridley Scott started in commercials, and I feel like if you watch, and he had a incredibly successful career as a commercial director. And if you kind of watch the behind the scenes on Alien, and if you just watch his first few, I mean, I love a lot of Ridley Scott across many eras, but like, especially in the whole decade of 1979 through 1990 of Ridley Scott, I feel like you can really see the precision. And because if you think about a good commercial, everything has to look great in a really compressed amount of time. It's not going to like move you the same way a great movie will, and it's kind of the same thing, especially if you watch some of David Fincher's greatest music videos. And if you think about that, Seven was his first movie after Alien 3, which he has officially disowned as his own movie.
Oh,
it was
what? I was just about to bring up the Alien 3 as being one of my faves.
I mean, I like Alien 3, but I feel like the assembly cut is really like more representative of like what it might have looked like. But I mean, if you think about if Seven was even your second movie, like that's incredible. I mean, I love Seven. I don't know how everyone else feels on it, but like I love it so much. And it just looks so good. And it like, it doesn't, I would never watch it and be like, oh, the person who made this like only made music videos before. I'm not that intuitive as like a visual observer, but I think knowing that information and seeing how precise everything looks in somebody like Ridley Scott's catalog and how commingled with the art direction of like H.R. Giger, Ridley Scott was, it kind of like reminds me a little bit of David Fincher's trajectory a little bit. That's all.
I do really like that David Fincher has such a notable style. He kind of just has 1.5 shades, like colors that he uses for a whole movie.
Yellows.
He's just like, it's going to be some sort of green or yellow. And I'm just going to use that the whole fucking movie for every scene, everywhere you go.
But don't you think that that's aged better than something, say, like, I love The Matrix, the first one, but don't you think that David Fincher's style has extended into the 21st century better than a lot of other stuff that kind of copied him?
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree. That's the thing is I actually do. I do like the look of this movie for the most part. I really do. And I think it's just, it's just a guy who like has a specific style and he's just like, he knows exactly how to make that translate to a feature film. And I think he does it so well. And he doesn't just where, Zack Snyder, I mean, across all his movies, it's like you can tell they're by the same guy, but they're all different shades of terrible. Like it's just different shades of could be better, just shot like
I like Dawn of the Dead.
Oh god,
Dawn of the Dead's pretty good.
But yeah, I mean, does anybody not like Seven? That would be crazy. That would be wild.
No.
Like, I mean,
we talked about needing to review that on this show because we liked it all so much.
Oh, I think Seven is like really appreciated. I think that it's kind of like it had to come full circle a little bit, like Fight Club, where it's like I think people, because Seven was so influential in its visual style and it's the story it's trying to, like, you could draw a direct line, I think, from Seven to like M. Night Shyamalan movies or something like that, right? Because there's the twist. And I think David Fincher even suffered a little bit from Seven. If you look at The Game and then Fight Club, they're both third act twist movies. And I like that about those movies. I think Fight Club is way better than The Game. But yeah, I think people got a little exhausted of, I mean, even now it's like what's in the box is like, you know, memed or whatever. I don't think that means that it's like maligned or something, but I think Seven maybe has gone through its stages of appreciation. And I think for me, I think it's like, I'm at the point in my life where I'm like, I know Seven is really good. And like, you know how you can kind of turn on the things you love a little bit at some point. I had that relationship with Seven a little bit for a while, but now I'm just kind of like, I know it's amazing and I love it.
It is an amazing movie. Circle back to a less amazing movie, The Killer. So there is the sequence after the killing of the taxi driver.
Played by Robert
He
De Niro.
goes he goes to the headquarters of, and this is, man, I'm not trying to complain about this movie because it's not like I was in agony watching this movie like an MCU movie, but like they send the people to kill him because he messed up an assassination. They don't, so now he's on he's going down to kill all these different people.
Yeah.
In John Wick, when they mess up, they're all like, "It's the Baba Yaga. He's coming. He's coming for us. He's gonna kill us. Get more men. We need more men. We need more guns. Protect us." What do these guys do? They fucking show up to their 9 to 5, fucking doing paperwork, and they're like, "Ah, shit, he's here." And he's just like, they're like, "Well, I guess you're gonna kill me now." And he's like, I am.
No, they didn't think he was going to. They were in shock.
He addresses that. That's the first thing. He's like, "There's no way you would sacrifice yourself being seen by coming here and doing this." That was out of his realm of possibilities that this guy would ever show up in their office.
That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that a cold-blooded assassin, it was out of his character that he would kill someone that was trying to beat up his girlfriend.
No, show up at the office. That's what they're saying. Yeah, they may have protected themselves when they're sitting in bed at their house, but right there in the office, right there, they were like, "Oh no,
he'll never get more bodyguards in Assassination Inc. You wouldn't get other assassins to protect you from the fucking crazed killer out there."
Yeah, if you want everyone on the block to know you're Assassins Inc. Yeah, here we're Assassins Inc. We got 30 guys in black suits standing around our block. That's what you want.
Guy. 2 guys.
No,
or maybe
3
4.
The office was one of the aspects I loved about it because it was like it's like clear, just like a real estate office that's like a front, and I loved the whole sequence of him kidnapping the woman because I felt like she accepted her death.
Yeah, that was
like
so cool.
The moment they became a unit, and even though when he kills her in her home, it surprised her a little bit. I felt like she knew. It was so interesting watching a character who knows they're going to die the whole time, and she tries to escape briefly once. But I thought that was a really interesting sequence because he's never cruel to her. I mean, he is cruel, but he's never he doesn't like torment her physically necessarily. And it's just like this like vacancy. Like it sounds like the vacancy is something that really bothered Mav and Remy, but I thought that was really well executed because he's vacant with his girlfriend and then he's vacant with this woman. He's not needlessly cruel, but she's never going to talk herself out of her fate. Sorry, Jason.
I wrote down like I was excited to talk about her. Like I was so impressed by that actress and her character. Incredible. And from the moment like she sees him, she knows exactly who he is. So you know that they have actually some past too. Like he even addresses her by first name and things like that. So another part of this movie where there's a little one-liner between the two of them where he says something where you can tell that they have had previous conversations. You know, this is maybe his handler or controller. I can't remember what they call it in the assassination world, but it was like that scene I thought was so well done because how surprised that guy is and how even Fassbender went into that. He wasn't going to kill him. You know, he just wanted to, nails in the chest, get him and tell me where the people are that
he's like 55-year-old male, non-smoker, whatever. I love that so much.
But then he starts to die quicker and you can see that he gets a little like, like, oh shit, I killed him too quick, but I mean, I loved that scene. And then this kind of opened up to a bigger discussion of some of even the locations that they're in. I mean, that office feels just so real. And and this, every room that I feel like they're in this movie, from the restaurant that the expert is at the very end, or even his house, how it feels, it's just so open and white, and has these incredible locations as far as, New York and Dominican Republic and Louisiana, but then even gets deeper into these really, really interesting houses and rooms and stuff like that. And I was so intrigued by that almost 80s kind of feel to that room when he's even talking like they're still using CCR TVs or, an 80s technology, even as this office was, which I thought was perfect for this assassination thing, where they weren't going to be so high tech, as far as their security. So I was so intrigued by that whole scene and with that girl. And you're even thinking there towards the end that he might not kill her, but then I was like, nope, she saw his face. She's definitely going to die, and then just the neck snap at the top of the stairs to send her tumbling down. It was so just like jarring, almost like, oh, whoa, oh, I didn't see that happening. But
it felt like vaguely, weirdly merciful in a way.
oh yeah, absolutely.
It was
That's what
weird.
she asked.
It was like, yeah.
And she asked that too. She's like, I know how you do this to people where you will just disappear. And he's like, you can't let me disappear because my kids need my life insurance, and then that was his act of mercy, was like killing her. So her body she fell downstairs. So your kids are going to get your money.
That's right. I forgot about that. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the sign of his, like the first sign that he has some form of like not just going to kill people
they're chipping away at it.
Passionately. He did give her wish of dying in that form of way. Rambo, did you feel anything with that sequence of showing up to the dude from Top Gun and then her and then dispatching them before we get to the house brawl?
Charles Parnell.
Yes, not to be confused with Chris Parnell, who I thought that was. Chris Parnell, very funny. I fucking love Chris Parnell.
Dr. Spaceman in 30 Rock.
Yes, Dr. Spaceman. Thank you, Zach. Oh my God. My honestly, probably my favorite part of 30 Rock next to Alec Baldwin.
Yeah,
so
he's
good.
Great. I love it so much.
And
I'm
also
going to give you an epidural. Do you mind if I have one? Also, the voice of Archer, folks.
I wish we had a cure for for women. Am I right? Just there's so many good lines. Anyway, I thought that's who was in this movie, so I kept on waiting for him, and then I realized after it ended, I was like, "Wait, it's Charles Parnell."
Maybe that's why you're so angry. You're like,
yeah.
Where's Chris Parnell?
If only he was in this movie.
That would have made for a very entertaining role. Anyway. I think, like it. At that point, I was like, "Oh, he's definitely is gonna kill her." Like, so I didn't think that was a twist. I thought, like, after he killed the taxi driver, I was like, "Oh, he is going to kill everybody." But he gives like that little bit of tiny humanity because he cares about her children or he kills about her children that he's never met before because they're theoretically innocent in all of this. I like the sequence of events, and it's not a terribly done slow burn because it doesn't take that long to get from the office. But like the killing of Charles Parnell, I like that. I like that he has relatively unique kills for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like Parnell gets a staple, or not staple, but a nail gun, a nail gun to the chest. He snaps her neck. He shoots Tilda, and who's the other one?
The other one's the guy in the house.
That guy dies via impaling and Molotov cocktail. So there's like I do like the creativity amongst all the kills, and they're all done a little bit differently, which I like. And the carrying a body out via a trash can, that was kind of cool.
And then the guy in the elevator saying, "Is that I'll help you with that body?"
That was so funny. I
like that it's kind of brought in, and you just think of it as just a prop to get in, but it's like I like that it kind of brings it back to, oh no, the whole forethought is he was going to bring a body out with this, and I really like that.
Everything about that sequence felt so Fight Club to me. I mean, obviously in Fight Club, there's a lot of like kind of Ed Norton juggling his personal life or his work life with like what's going on in Project Mayhem or whatever. And yeah, it's just like, it's so interesting because it's like, I love Fight Club so much, but it's like, I definitely just feel like in terms of like theme and everything, I feel like Fincher is just like matured as a man and as a director. But I love these, like, they're not even nods, but like him dressing up in like the garbage man outfit. And then I'm not saying it's like exact or something, but I feel like you can just kind of trace like a visual line and there's a feel. Like there's just a feel that he gives that really reminded me of that. And I think it's just really cool that he can still call back to maybe his most famous work, at least, without feeling redundant to me is all. It's cool.
Another cool part about that I just wanted to add is like he orders all of the stuff online and then like is waiting in the parking lot and has the guys come out and deliver the trash can and all the
I love
tools
that
and all the
so
things like that.
much.
It's like little things like that. It's like, all right, if I was a killer, I'm not going to go walking through a grocery store getting all the things that I need to kill people with into my
Yes.
basket. You know, so I'm going to order it online and then wait out in the car, have it delivered there. No one sees me, no one on camera.
Yeah.
So it's just
Well, there's 2
using
mentions of that. He does it later too with the little.
the Amazon Dropbox with the
Yes.
fob thing too. It's just like
Yes,
so
the
many
fob.
ways of that he uses like now technology and how we would do that to like
Mhm.
and not put yourself in another situation where you're going to be seen on camera and stuff. And so just another cool, like clean, just how he does these murders is just always like steps up every murder, I feel like.
My favorite part of this movie is the house brawl. I did think
All right.
what was that?
Oh, I'm excited. I didn't know if you didn't like this part or not. So
No,
it's
I
exciting to
love
me.
this part. This is the part that like actually felt like it was fun. It was fun. Although I will say, given that he's a complete sociopath killer, it does give me Hollywood like pussy vibes when he feeds the dog like knockout pills, and I'm just like, can we have a bad guy with the balls to kill a dog? Like they're so afraid they'll murder babies, they'll shoot
No, this is
toddlers
like
in
The
the head.
Sopranos.
John Wick told us all that you cannot do that, so he's just following the John Wick.
No,
No,
he's
this
a
is
clear
stupid.
sociopath. Sociopaths usually care about babies and animals and not grown adults.
I thought they start off by like killing dogs, and then that's how they end up killing people.
That's serial killers. Serial killers have the McDonald triad, which is usually killing animals, arson, and late bedwetting is usually something that serial killers. But a serial killer is not necessarily a sociopath, and a sociopath is absolutely not necessarily a serial killer.
I see. Wait, didn't you kill that dog back in the day, and then you told me not to tell anyone about it?
Oh God.
Yes, that sounds like me.
Anyway, no, I'm just like the dog. Like, if again, mission like Terminator status. I'm going in this house. I'm going to kill this guy. There's a dog there. Okay, I'm going to really go out of my way to not kill this dog. I'm just like, this is just Hollywood bullshit of like, we don't want to kill a dog on screen.
But it
Whatever.
was a clever start to the scene where he's shopping for meat, NyQuil,
Could have
and a
just
couple other
poisoned
things.
it. Why?
Yeah.
Why? Like you give it sleeping pills, but you won't give it poison pills? What are we
Well,
doing?
like
Shoot it in
Zach
the
just
head
said.
with a silencer. Shoot it in
Or
the head.
not.
I'm going to walk into the house.
Or don't kill it. Like
No, because he doesn't have emotion. He's not a human. He's a killer. He's a Terminator. Why is he playing pussyfoot with a fucking dog?
It's showing you, it's building character right there that he doesn't.
Yeah,
he has a
I'm
line. He
thinking
has a
of
line that he
Bill.
draws. You know?
Building character. He's come a long way since snapping a mom's neck, throwing her down a flight of stairs. He's come a long way.
Hey, she probably had her hand in so many assassinations and deaths. She was not
I mean, that made me really
That
wet
dog
when you told
probably
Mom.
mauled small children that guy found outside of the strip club. Okay,
I mean, did you
dragged some
see?
poor little Jimmy back, threw him in the trunk, and then he's just like, "Hey Hank, I got a meat for you,
Dude, when that dog
meat's
found
back
out
on our menu, boys."
dude, when that dog saw his owner dead, though, how he booked through the glass door to
love
chase
that.
after him.
I loved it. Yeah. So there was like a good plot mechanics to that too. I did not mind that he spared the dog, and I thought it was in line with his sociopathy to do so.
I like the meat back on the menu reference. To
I had
earlier
to find a way to
conversation.
do
I know. I love Pirates of the Caribbean. Solid reference. The references are out of control.
Pirates.
So dumb. Anyway, Brawl in the House was sick. He gets in a
Yeah.
fisticuffs. They throw each other around. They're like, there's creative ways of fighting.
It's funny.
It's
Dude.
funny. It's filmed
Yeah.
like it's not, to bring it back, Jason Bourne movies that are like this, and you just can't see what the fuck's
Shaky,
going
yeah.
on. It was like very, you can tell like when someone grabs something and like it was
Yeah.
very well choreographed and very well shot, as I would expect from this man. But I really did enjoy that sequence, and I thought it did give a fresh feel. And maybe because less is more, maybe it was because the other kills were much more matter of fact. Shoot the guy, shoot the guy in the stomach, and then this was a kind of a longer sequence. It felt more impactful.
Anticipate, don't improvise.
Totally. What does he grab? Yeah, that's right. I love that quote. What does he grab? Is it a cheese grater that like he like looks to find
Yeah.
a weapon? I loved that moment.
And
He's
he
like,
uses
"Dang
it.
or
He
whatever."
throws it and he goes to
Yeah, that
makes
was
the guy
great.
shoot over there and he runs around. Yeah.
That sequence was so exhilarating, and I really loved that he walked out of it limping. Like, I don't know. I've only been in a fight 2 times in my whole life. I'm not a scrapper at all. But both times it's been so funny to me how uncinematic it is. Just like the next day, just like, oh, oh my God, and I loved that like he won, and that dude was obviously very imposing, but like how he can barely walk out of there was like, I thought it was really, really nice touch to me.
I do appreciate what they were doing. I appreciate it was fun, but I will say it definitely just had hard WWE vibes because they're like constantly stabbing each other, but then like just fine. Like
Well, he never gets stabbed.
he
The other
stabs.
guy.
He stabs.
The other guy
Sala, oh yeah. Well, so shout out to Sauron, Sala Baker. I was gonna say Sauron / a few other Uruk-hai, but he gets stabbed like in the leg,
like in the crotch too, or something. Like he's
like
bleeding.
he gets stabbed like at least once, and he's just like kind of running through it. But
Yeah.
I just like the little details, like little things where it's like I don't think he would actually think to do this in a fight. Like he flips a table on top of him, like just
Dude.
like little random things. But there was like I like the one part where it's like Solid, he like squares up on him, and then it just like quick cuts outside, and you see him fly through the doorway. Just
Dude, in the poker, the fire poker.
Oh yeah, he grabs the poker.
Oh God, he's like,
and he ends up getting impaled.
It reminded me of Uma Thurman and Vivica A. Fox's fight in Kill Bill Volume 1 with all the table flipping and glass breaking and stabbing. It just it felt like that, but at night almost in a way.
Yeah,
which I thought was cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It mixed it up. It's just it did feel like I was like this. It was by the end of it, I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. Like, I think we're done with this. But there's just multiple parts of this movie. Again, just it being 2023, being like 2-hour movie could have been wrapped up in 90 minutes. This is a 90-minute movie written all over it, but for some reason it was 2 hours.
And that fight scene is what energized me to get through the movie. I felt like, that was like the middle part that was right there. And it gave you some like quick motivation to kind of see this through. Because it was intense. I mean, there was a couple of those punches that Fassbender takes. I'm like, oh my God, dude, I felt it.
Yeah. It also reminded me of the Bourne Ultimatum, how like the Bourne Ultimatum has less action in it technically than the first two movies. But that fight, I think it's in Morocco or Spain. I can't remember, but it's like, it's right there. And that I think is the greatest fight scene of the whole trilogy, which eventually became 4 movies. It's so well done. But like you said, like I think that because that movie is just a little bit slower than the first two, it like re-engages you so much. And that's how I felt about this one. Is it really? And it honestly stylistically reminded me a little bit of that fight as well. And I love the Jason Bourne movies so much. And I thought this was like very. Because it's not the last action set piece. It is the peak of it, but like it's not the very end of it. And I just thought that was really cool. Anyway, I don't know. I kind of let myself run away there, but Mav, you were nodding like in like semi-solid agreement. I don't know.
No, I do agree. I like that callback. I mean, the Jason Bourne movies, obviously, especially the sequence you're talking about where he's jumping through windows and the notepad and the pen and all that great stuff. Yes. It's really that was like, but that's like supposed to be this amazing like secret agent versus secret agent. Yeah. And this is more so like much more grounded kind of fisticuffs. But I did really like this sequence.
Well, and the way he's improvising with objects felt Jason Bourne-ish too. It did not feel divorced from me at all. And what I think it sounds to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but has bothered Remy and Mav, which I don't disagree with even necessarily, is like the lack of connection to character. And I think Jason Bourne, we do become more connected to him, and Matt Damon is so charismatic, but so is Michael Fassbender, honestly. I think this is a directorial choice. What I think is like to like distance you a little bit from your protagonist is a really wise choice, because it's like, as much as I love the Jason Bourne movies, the fact that he is like somebody we kind of love at the end, it does feel a little bit unrealistic to me if you were able to maintain that level of like robotic level killing. To me, it's like somebody who is able to do that does seem more likely to be somebody that would be like what we call like, or what is called on the spectrum or something like that. Somebody that has like not a lot of emotional registry. But anyways, that's all.
I mean, it is interesting because you have different types of killers, right? Because like there's plenty of Navy SEALs, ex-Navy SEALs out there that do interviews, have podcasts. Jocko, the great Jocko Willink. I really like and it's like one of those things where I'm not necessarily calling Jocko a killer, but the man was a Navy SEAL for years and years and years and years. I'm sure he had his hand in plenty of missions. I know that because I've read or listened to his book, but where he has had his hand in plenty of missions that involve killing people. So, but he's not without personality, and he is I mean, he's older now. He's seasoned and experienced, but he's like retired. But he is, I think, a good example of somebody who has probably seen and done a lot of, relatively terrible things, but is still like, he can be jovial. He can be serious. He can be like removed from a situation. And so it's like, I think this is just a take on a killer, but I think you can have a lot of different forms of killers.
And remember this scene, like afterwards, it shakes him. It's like I think he's like sitting in the shower floor. Like in one of the scenes. Like
yeah,
afterwards,
and then James
like,
Bond comes in and licks all his fingers. I like that touch. Was really cool.
Oh, God. But it's like how he even says, I think, like in the internal monologue, is like, this is what it takes to succeed. He's just doing whatever it takes, and no matter how broken that makes him or how much far he goes outside of his normal boundaries that he's been going on, he's like treading new water. You can see that, where it's like, especially from that fight scene where it's like he's mid saying, one of his mantras when he gets like punched in the head by this guy. He's like going against everything that he normally does in his kill. So that scene, I think, is not only a turning point in the movie, but like a huge turning point for his character. And so, like, because I think it's the flight back, he's like asleep, passed out in the plane. How many other plane rides do we see him just like nervously looking around the whole time, and how different he was? And so it's just that just starts to change him. And I don't even know if he has a choice of it, because it's like, this is, the bed I made, I gotta, sleep in this now. So I thought that was just
made
such
it personal.
Yeah. And that's as shallow as that personal is, I think it's huge for him as far as like his changing of himself. So it was, I felt like it got really deep as far as his character development there.
The final sequence, or the beginning of the end of this movie, is his final confrontation with the final person, which is Tilda Swinton, sitting at a fine dining restaurant. He sits across from her. Once again, she doesn't have anyone there protecting her. She seems perfectly just like, oh, I'm ready to die now. Gives a terrible monologue, drinks a few shots of whiskey. I did like, he walks her outside to kill her, and
never trust anybody.
She starts to walk downstairs,
he says
and
his
then
mantra.
she like slips, or she like turns around, and then he shoots her. And the camera cuts, and she has a knife in her hand.
Yes, I love
and
that.
I did like that, because they have shown that, he had slight moments of humanity, like when he granted the woman's death wish. He does have moments of that, but it's not this gradual, like, oh, he's now going to let his guard down against Tilda Swinton. He still has that full killer instinct in that moment, and does not.
He was right to.
No, that's the thing, is that his code did preserve him in that moment, because even though he had a couple moments of brief humanity, I did like that he still was completely engaged in who he was in that moment.
Yeah.
That was such an intense scene for me, actually. I thought while sitting at the restaurant, something more was going to happen. I thought the flight board, when she turned it, it was going to be like a gun,
agree.
like under like the flight, the whiskey flight board was really, because how she was such a regular there and asked for her bottle too. Like I thought the bottle was going to be poisoned or a gun.
Said, I was on edge the entire restaurant scene, and I liked that it was not even a false flag, but I was like, this is so shit's. Even though he approached her and like grabbed her bag, I was like, he's too relaxed, even though I don't know if he ever appears, but I thought that was a really cool thing.
And many times she says, I pictured this moment, I thought I'd be prepared for it and all this sort of stuff. She's like, okay, so what do you got ready? And I guess it was just a knife in her hand, was all her preparedness though. But I think that just even showed how much that these people did not think that Fassbender would just walk up and sit inside a restaurant like something like that, where she even
he
says
grabbed
that
her
again.
purse too. So the implication is that she had a gun in her purse, probably, right?
Oh, and then that's the gun he uses, is her gun against her.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Because he knows she has gun in there. He just has it there. So that not only disarmed her, but now he can has a weapon against it. So, and then I definitely knew something tricky was up her sleeve as she was going all like acting a little too drunk and stuff like that out there. It's like, oh no, don't let you down your guard, because he even says something about weakness, emotions.
But her fall is so believable. I mean, she even says something like "help a girl out" or something. It's like, and she really trips bad. So it's like in that moment, as a viewer, just for me personally, I was like, my guard was let down. Not any time in the restaurant, and I don't know. I just thought it was really effective. It was really cool.
And I like me some Tilda. Tilda is a great actress. Yeah,
she's great. I love her.
Great actress, but very much she does. Kate Blanchett plays Katharine Hepburn in The Aviator, but Tilda Swinton is very Katharine Hepburn-esque, where she's annoying in all her movies. She is she's a great actress, but her character's always annoying, and maybe I just never liked her from Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, she always gives me Sigourney Weaver vibes, and I love Sigourney.
No, I've never had a problem with Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah,
I think Mav's onto something though. I think Tilda does maybe play more, have a tendency more towards abrasive characters, and Sigourney Weaver does too. But I think there's something equally soothing about both of them. But from a casting perspective, I feel like Tilda
just looks like an alien.
So does Sigourney Weaver though.
Yeah.
No, Sigourney Weaver killed Tilda Swinton when she pushed her outside the airlock.
When I blasted out of the fucking airlock.
Anyway, so did anyone else have any thoughts on that sequence?
I mean,
no, because we're about to meet my boy, Private Cowboy, who's been in a Stanley Kubrick film.
The actual most boring part of this movie is the actual very end.
The walk away, but wasn't nearly. Remy, you'll appreciate this. Did not have the impact of the ending of Nevada Smith, as far as like when you choose to do or not do something, and then this movie was just like, yep. Zach, you talk to me about the ending of this movie, and when Remo and Jason can take over.
I mean, I really liked it. I thought it was another, like what Jason was saying earlier about like how things move so fast, and like maybe this wasn't what you were saying, Jason, but like I really like to see the working of the case in television shows, and like while the criminal justice process moves so swiftly in something like Law and Order and something like True Detective, it's like doled out slower, and you get to see like, oh, this is like what folks like this have to do to work a case. It's not all glitz and glamour, and it's really frustrating, a lot of waiting around. And I felt like this just like accentuated that. And I like the fact that I felt like by letting this person go and threatening him long term, it was more impactful than maybe killing him would be, which is kind of why I felt like he made that choice. Not because this person deserves to have mercy bestowed upon them, but by showing him what he is capable of. It was maybe going to have more of a longer lasting resonance. And the very last shot after he gets back reunited with his girlfriend, it was such a Fincher touch, and Fassbender as well. Like you can kind of peek right behind his sunglasses, and he's, the implication is that he's going to relax, but the idea that he can never quite close his eye, always have one eye open, I thought was like really, really cool visual touch. And I really liked that last third or sequence. It was really cool to me. And it's great to see Arliss Howard in anything. I mean, from folks, Full Metal Jacket, he plays Private Cowboy who gets killed in the last third. So always cool.
Go ahead, Rimbo.
We get to the end, and it's like Tilda's the end, but not really, because there's one more person above her. But you don't get any real insight into who he is, other than he goes to a gym to work out with a trainer. And that, he doesn't really have top-notch security like everybody else. And
he's a fintech guy.
Inc.
Well, he says that. He's like, people aren't getting their Christmas bonus this year.
I guess he sucks at protecting himself when he's hiring assassins to murder people and other assassins. Seems like the type of thing you might want to have, better security for, but I don't know what I'm talking about. It just, and then, he's like, but you don't get any like feel from him. It's a very, again, with everybody in this movie, they just have this really short, like 1 to 2 scene role. And I'm like, I don't get the idea that this guy's like evil, but I also don't get the idea that like, he just seems like a regular dude. He just is like he doesn't. Nothing tells me like, oh, this guy like is serious and really could have people killed if he wanted to, other than he's talking to some dude on an earpiece. And so
I mean, you
the
hit the nail
line,
on the head, though. That's what they were portraying, is that
Right,
he
that's
was
the whole
just a
point.
regular dude. He even says that. He's like, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I've never. This is the first time I've ever done something like this. And like, he constantly references as the first time that he's killed. And then when he's like, "Do you want to scrub
clean
the
up. You
evidence?"
want to clean up, like
He's like,
yeah.
I thought that's what they always offered. So yeah, I threw in $150,000 extra.
Yeah,
to
he's
get
a
you
money
killed.
market guy. He even says, I stood to gain a substantial amount of money if this, like, I think it's somebody that's like close to the royals in France would have died.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's implicated on his TV too, that he's like a fintech guy, which is like
Right.
an obvious target. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And no,
Yeah,
I
cut
just
you off,
felt like
Remy,
it was
say that.
shallow. I just felt like he wasn't that interesting or intriguing, and it to be the the final boss. I guess it's kind of a twist in that it's like, oh, he's just a
Yeah.
regular boring guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
But being
feeling
a-
that I got.
But in a slew of regular boring things that happen in this movie, it just felt like, oh god, okay, I guess that's the ending. And
I thought it was so refreshing though. It is that was the final boss, because it's not some sleazy, coked up like piece of shit that you immediately want to get killed. Or,
Sure.
something like that, it was some like tech guy who had never done this before, and how he talked to Fassbender, I almost want to rewatch that scene. He was like, "Now let me be very clear." He was like, "I have no ill will towards you," because and it was like, you're saying that, like, while I'm watching, I'm like, thank you, dude, for saying this, because as Fassbender's going up to the apartment or the office or whatever, he says, "I'll know immediately by the look in his eyes if I'm going to kill him or not." So I'm even sitting there like, "Oh, what is this look going to be?" And the fact that this guy is not playing dumb, because he's not trying to be some bumbling idiot. He is being so perfectly honest and so like, I don't even know who you are. I work through another party, and then when I was trying to get you killed, I didn't even know what I was really doing then. It's like, I don't even know who you are now. I'm not looking at you. I'm never going to do anything like this again, and I want you to know that I am so sorry for all this has happened, and I will never do anything like this again. How many final bosses has given that speech, at the very end, where it's a complete remorse? And to the fact of, this is what Fassbender also, I feel like, needed to see too, that not everyone was this piece of shit that he's been killing, going down the line of, as like, all of you deserve to die and have a countless body bags behind you, and the audience should not feel bad if you die. And so I would have felt bad if this dude had been killed.
Oh, Jason, bad take. This man still authorized payment to be made to go and murder a seemingly innocent person to make a profit.
Yeah, you're right. And now he is going to live the rest of his life now thinking Fassbender's around the corner. So I guess that's his little comeuppance. But it was interesting, refreshingly, to see the kind of movie end like that.
I would buy that. And it's interesting, I guess, just because it's different. It doesn't really make it like more impactful. But again, he gives mercy to this guy that authorized all this, who paid for all this, but he shows no mercy to the taxi driver.
Yeah. Oh, no. And to that point, when he's driving up to the place, he's looking up information on this guy, and he's like, with a high income comes incredible police scrutiny or something. He's making comparison to the more money you make, the more the police are going to care. And I think that is even another deterrent for his like, the taxi driver guy, I wouldn't gotten in trouble. So another factor of him not killing this guy was they are going to come after me.
That's what I thought.
FBI, CIA is
I thought it behooved him to not kill him more. So but I also like your take that maybe because he does have that line, like you said, of like, I'll know within X amount of time if I'm to kill him or not. And I do think it could have gone either way because he was within his house. So I think it's both. I think that he knows like the level of police scrutiny, and that Arliss Howard makes like a impassioned plea. But I think ultimately it benefits Michael Fassbender's character, because if he's going to die, he's going to die. And I think the implication is that living this kind of life, you always have to have one eye open, essentially.
And remember, we're seeing this character development of this guy. So he was a different person when he was killing the taxi driver, where now he has a little bit more remorse at this point.
I don't think he is a different person. I think he is the exact same person. I don't think we see much growth other than a couple moments of brief like mercy. I don't think him and his girlfriend still like they're sitting next to each other at the end of this movie, but like has he changed? No, like is that the point? Is that he doesn't change because he's a cold, calculated killer? But again, it just doesn't make for that much like that interesting of a person you're following for an entire movie if they're just kind of they're dispassionately killing, but they don't really have. I do buy when he looks concerned because his girlfriend got beat up. I do think that's a genuine emotion, which is
Mhm.
what is most confusing because everything else does not seem like he is genuinely dispassionate, but he looks very concerned when his girlfriend's beat up, and it's not like he's feigning that. That is what the thing about the movie that confuses me the most.
You know what it reminds me of in terms of an end set piece is Memento, which I know is a movie you guys have talked about this, is you go through this whole, I mean, the score of Memento is much more pushing you to feel a certain way. It's very, I mean, that is one of my most favorite movie scores of all time. It's really pushing you to feel this like melancholic, like confused sense of triumph, I feel like, in the end of Memento. But it ends with, oh yes, where was I? And I feel like this kind of ends the same way, where I don't know that he has that profound of a character arc, but it is sort of an, oh yes, where was I? Where it's like, how many times do you meet people where you'll just create this judgment of just, or I shouldn't ask that. I have had times where I'm like, this person only has X amount of depth, and then they will surprise me, and I will be like, I need to not make such broad assumptions or whatever. And in this case, it's like he is a cold-blooded killer, but it's like living that life, I think, is sort of an oh yes, where was I type of a deal, where I don't think you can really have that profound of an arc if you're going to kill people as you're living. That's all.
I found you, you fuck.
I found you. Fuck.
Jason, final thoughts and ratings. Jason, kick us off. How would you rate and finalize this movie?
I mean, I always say this about movies, so I mean, I just had a great time watching it. You know, that's really all I'm looking for is a good time.
Did you say that about Shang-Chi?
Shang-Chi? Yeah, actually, I'd like that. More Aquafina. Let's go.
Oh, Jason.
You
You had a better take when you're supporting the killer.
Yeah. I was just watching something the other day, and Aquafina popped up again. I'm like, oh my god, really? She is really in everything right now. Oh, it's the migration.
She's everywhere, everything, all at once.
Yeah, she's in that one, I think, too. Yeah. But as you guys know, my bar is low. So yeah, even if Aquafina made an appearance in this movie, I'd be like, yeah, okay, yeah, let's keep going with this. But yeah, no, like I said in the very beginning, this was a cool movie. It had me on the edge of my seat. I was intrigued, engaged, and I really enjoyed the character arc of old Fassbender. The music I thought was so cool. I thought that they did really well with the 11 tracks of the Smiths, right? Smiths, yeah, being in this. You know, I thought it was very cool how they kept doing that from the ears, you know, buds to the actual music playing, and the score. Besides that, always being this very like metallic. It even sounds like his stomach is growling at one point in the movie, and that's the sounds that are going on, you know. And I don't know if that's supposed to be his mental state or something like that, but there is the view, the colors, the cinematography, the locations, the actors, the music. I can't say enough good things about this, actually. So I'm gonna give it the old 9er. 9 out of 10. Mm-hmm.
9.
Yeah, this is the type of movie I'd watch with other people. Like if there's a bunch of people in the room and we want to put something on, like this is this type of movie. Like this is a good background, entertaining. Like this is what movies are supposed to do. And it did not feel like a Netflix movie. This seems like Adam Sandler trash. This was like the next spy thriller movie that will go up there.
Yeah, it's a movie you'd put on if you were hosting a slumber party,
or if you're entertaining Kailani and Zach Glenn.
There we go. I know how to entertain.
Rembo.
Zach? Oh, me? No, okay. 5? It's just mid 5, 6, maybe. It's really just down the middle. It's not like a terribly made movie. It's just, I would never want to watch this again. It's just mostly uninteresting. I do not want to watch it again. I think there are glimpses of good things. I appreciate what David Fincher is trying to do. It's not his source material, but I like what he did. I think with what he was given, he did a good job. I think Michael Fassbender did a great job with what he was given. I just think that the actual substance of the film is thin, and yeah. There's just parts of it that bug me more. There's parts of it that really bug me, parts of it that I don't care as much about, but yeah, it's mid 5, 6. I will say, what I do really appreciate about the soundtrack and the use of the Smiths, when he first put the thing on, I was like, oh my God, are we about to get another fucking Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff? Because many movies do this now where they just have like a completely like eclectic grouping of music together, just being like, oh, here's a bunch of songs, I'm really glad it wasn't that, and it had a very specific theme that they stuck to, and I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, it's rare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead,
Zach. To Zach.
Oh, sorry. I really loved it. I was just thinking about my favorite Fassbender performances, and like I find Prometheus to be a super up and down movie, but my favorite moments of all that movie are just David, played by Michael Fassbender, being David, and there's like this amazing shot of him. Maverick, you can help me out. He's watching, I don't know if it's Lawrence of Arabia or some other classic film, but he's mimicking the lines, and it shows him when he's dyeing his hair, and he goes, "The trick, William Potter, is not minding that it hurts." And it's a line that he repeats like throughout the movie, and it's just this weird sociopathic thing where he's trying to like connect as a human. And that's what this movie reminded me of. It's like this person that is like, has like this distance. And I don't know. I'm not saying it's like best actor material, or whatever, but I could watch him read the phone. I could watch a movie of him killing me and enjoy it. That's how much I love Michael Fassbender. Or of him just taking my wife gradually away from me slowly because he's better at everything that I cannot do. That's how I feel about, like, he's so magnetic and awesome. And he played Magneto.
He's so damn it. I was going to make that joke as soon as you said that.
Two sides of the same John Wick coin.
Yeah, good. Thank you. We have not made that reference in a while. Thank you for bringing it back.
So I loved it. I feel like it'd be a weird attempt at like alphaness to rate it higher than Jason. So I'm going to go with Jason and say 9 out of 10.
Like The Price is Right. I give it a 9.1.
I don't even go 9.5. I just go 9.1. Yeah. I loved it. And I loved being a part of this conversation. I loved hearing, Jason, what you loved about it. I liked hearing what you and Remy and Mav didn't like about it. It's not that I like those things because you didn't or whatever. I think it's cool. I loved getting to talk about it. It was really fun.
6 out of 10. I know I've complained 99% of this show just about the movie, but generally speaking, it was just because I was very disappointed, because it is a Fincher movie, and you look at his track record, he's been really good for a long time. And when Mank came out, I watched that, and that was a good movie.
Okay.
And it is just like, and Mindhunter was really fucking good.
Mindhunter rules.
So good.
You introduced that up top.
So
You were doing your intro, but I just want to say I love Mindhunter.
Yeah,
that's another one. I don't think anyone doesn't love Mindhunter.
It was just
heavy.
I will say, Mav, I do think that you omitted Mr. Christopher Nolan from your list of schedules to see.
Yeah.
I did. It's only because mentally I haven't caught up yet, where like I removed him after Tenet. I was like,
I know,
he has been removed from the list. But I meant to re-add him after Oppenheimer, but my Rolodex hasn't been updated in a couple of years.
Reference to the movie Rolodex.
Oh yeah, actually.
Sure.
But generally speaking, it is a. I do love Michael Fassbender. I would say if you want to watch a more dispassionate, a different Michael Fassbender movie that I liked more was Shame, where he plays a sex addict. I thought that movie is really effective at showing you a dude that struggles with emotion. And then as far as an assassin movie, like, to me, The Accountant is just better at everything in this movie. I love The Accountant, and
including
old Ben Affleck accountant.
Yeah.
Affleck. John Bernthal.
No.
And come on, man, John Bernthal and Ben Affleck. Come on, man.
Pitch Perfect too. Is it also
Anna Kendrick? Love Anna Kendrick. Yeah. Oh wait, I just named everyone.
Oh, hang on, and also that trailer though, as the kids say, the music in it.
I'm not picking up.
Very famous band out of the English country called Radiohead. They watch the trailer.
There it is.
Where you can see more Radiohead references on Idiot Talk.
Drop a Radiohead reference.
Yeah.
Hey, well, they're a very popular group.
And Zach, this is where you plug your show, right? You know?
No, it's okay.
No, yeah,
'Cause we're-
absolutely. Zach Glenn, if you didn't know, he is one half of the hosts of Idiot Talk, a Fiona Apple podcast.
There you go.
Oh, that's
Available
right.
wherever you get your podcast. And that's last page.